Hello, hello. Welcome. So, welcome to the stream. I'm super excited to be here. This is officially the first class we're doing straight onto YouTube. So let me know if you can hear me, if there's any issues, and we'll get going. So this first portion is really just me getting to know you guys, and just if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the stream on my phone so I can see all of your comments easier. And we're just going to get ready for class together. I have some Q-tips I'm going to bundle, so if you haven't gotten your Q-tips up and ready, you can do that with me. Let's see. Hey Mike, can you check, just make sure that everything's working?
Yeah, I'm on it right now.
Okay. Oh, there we go. It wasn't loading. It was still saying that I wasn't live yet on my phone. Okay. Cool. Hello, hello. Okay, let me turn this down. Now I can see all your lovely comments. Hello. How many Q-tips should we put in a bundle? I would say I have 5. I usually don't do evens. So I'll do either 3 or 5. But it's up to you. I'll probably have at least 2 bundles of about 5 because you can use both sides. So you are connected, I hope. Let's see. First time painting at home. Oh, don't be nervous. Hope you can keep up. Well, honestly, even if you can't, like if you need to either take a break and come back to it later and so you can, watch the replay, there's no shame in that. Everybody paints at their own pace. And I'll really try to give a rundown of what we're doing before we do it so that everyone knows, everyone's caught up and knows what we're doing. So my husband has a question. Yes, Mike.
Oh, it's not a question.
Oh.
It's a really good statement.
What?
The great thing with streaming to YouTube is they can pause.
Oh, you're right. You're right. My husband's right. So streaming to YouTube, you can pause the video and like it'll hold your place and then it'll go on. Just know that if you do pause it and you want to ask a question, if you comment your question, I might already be 2 to 3 steps ahead of that. So just know that is a part of it. First time using my new easel and paint from Christmas. Sweet. Don't have any pinks. Yeah, you can just mix some red and whites. It'll have a little bit more of a warm feeling, like a warm color to it, but that's okay. That's totally fine. So let me know if this is your first time painting. I always love being able to paint with newcomers. Honestly, I love painting with anyone, so but it's always fun to be like, the painter if you're new, and it's your first time. Also, let me know if there's any kids here. If there's any kids painting along. That's always fun. I'm just, did I have 6 in this one? No. So I'm just using little hair ties to put these little bundles together. Just 2 to 3 is fine. You might not use all of them and then you can save them for later. How many different pinks should you make? I would just say 1 main, like medium to dark color, because then you can always darken it with a purple or a blue I wouldn't darken it with black because it tones down, it takes all the color out. But then you can just, and then you can lighten it up with white. So I would just say one medium to dark pink, and then you can, the only black I have is color shift black. Will that be okay? I'm sure it is. I don't actually, where are my paints? This is when I get to kind of get ready with you guys. So I have my white, let's see, my phthalo blue. Let's see, which black do I have? I have permanent black, but I've also used Mars black, and other blacks. Like, they all have like maybe a different tint to them, but they're all black. So if you have a different black, that's totally fine. Oh, Wendy, first time, yikes. Not yikes. Welcome. I would just say, just let go. If it's your first time, let go. Just trust the process. I did a painting party with, I think it was a group of 8-year-olds over the weekend. We did a paint party via Zoom, and one of the girls was just, she was so distraught because she didn't like her painting. We were in the drawing phase. Like, we were like, we're not even painting it. She's just like, everything doesn't look good, whatever. But once we just kept going. And then we were painting a penguin, and by the end, she put on the black of the penguin, which is one of the last steps, and she was like, oh, I really like mine. And it was actually one of the better ones of the group. And I'm like, you just have to trust the process. So don't be scared. Like, it's okay. You can just trust the process and we'll get there. We have an 8x10 canvas and a 16x20. I would use the smaller canvas. Oh, okay. So husband's using the 8x10. Okay. So if you are using a bigger canvas, if you're using a smaller canvas, that's totally fine. And it just means that anything that I do may take longer than you, and that's fine. But if you're using a bigger canvas than what everything you do is going to take longer than me. So that you might have to pause it, and that's okay. I would suggest get your biggest brushes. I did a private with someone who I was using this one, and she was using a 16x20, and I was painting, and then she was painting, and then she just kept painting because there was so much more space. So just keep that in mind. Definitely get a bigger brushes, like the bigger brushes that you can, and that will help move it. And then just try to, when we're doing a wet on wet technique, which I'll get to when we're painting, but when you do the wet on wet technique, make sure that you do try to go quicker, because on a big canvas sometimes things will dry and then it's harder to blend. 2 daughters with me, yay! How old are your daughters, Tammy? During this quarantine, my friend Nancy and I stay connected by participating in paint nights. Yeah, yes, absolutely. I have people literally painting with me from all over the world. So Zoom with them, Facebook chat with them, Facebook video chat with them, be with them. Like, I love that I get to be a part of just bringing people together. So that's super great. Lily is 10 years old. Hello, Lily. My son is 8, and I'm going to have him do your next class. Awesome. 18, 19. Sweet. They're good ages. Hi. Mona, you're welcome. Thanks for being here. Honestly, you guys just being here. Give the video a like, subscribe. I do these every other week. I have other videos that I do too. And if you ever want to see behind the scenes of what kind of my work week looks like, I also do vlogs. I haven't done any of this year because this last week was so busy, and then we had some family stuff going on. But yeah, so that's really fun, kind of behind the scenes stuff. You're welcome. I'm excited too. Okay, so I have my little Q-tip bundles. And I have my pinks, my whites. What else do I need? Did I say brown? I do have brown. If you don't have brown and you're like, wait, I don't have brown, you can make it with the primary colors. So just your red, your blue, and your yellow. Pretty much equal parts. But now what colors? So we have our white, our black, and then I have a brown, which I did not bring out. I grabbed my other black. Where are you? And then you have phthalo blue. If you don't have phthalo blue, just get a dark blue, whatever dark blue you have. And then I have pink. So I'm using kind of this, it's called a Rogue, kind of a darker pink. I also have this pink, which I might use. I'm not sure. I tend to like to use the darker pink because I feel like it's a lot easier to lighten it up with white rather than to darken it up. But you can always darken it up just with the tiniest bit of blue, and it'll make it a little bit more of a purpley, and you can use that for anything. Jem, no, you're not late. We're just doing a kind of like a pre-class chat, welcome, get all of our hellos out before class. So you're not late. Hello, first time painted before. You have painted before, first time with me. Cool. Welcome. Christine says, I haven't painted in a while, saw this class and decided to jump in. Well, welcome. Welcome, Christine. Cherry blossoms are my absolute favorite. I think they're so pretty. They're so pretty, and they're so versatile. So, I think probably using trees, like there's like the Bob Ross technique, whatever, you know, the pines, and then the Q-tip method is probably one of my favorite methods for like pink blossoms and things like that. Kathy says, I'm excited, but bad time. Will you be able to watch it later? Yes. All of my live classes that I upload to YouTube or that are now just on YouTube, I don't take them down. So feel free to come back later. Hit subscribe. You'll be reminded of it. And yeah, I do these every other week, so I'm sure you'll have another chance to paint as well. But yeah, I don't take them down. So where's everybody from? Let's get some general locations. I'm in San Diego, so I'm on the West Coast. Let me know where you're from. California, Alaska, Ohio, Texas, Ontario, New Jersey, Mississippi, New York. Man, from all over. Betty says, so excited to paint a water scene. I did my first painting of a Christmas ball for my daughter. We did a Christmas ball, like a Christmas, like one that goes on the tree. We did cards with that. Stress me. Everybody from everywhere. I feel like my classes are really popular in Canada. There's a lot of people from Canada. And Oklahoma. Oh, there's Canada again. Vancouver. How's the weather? Because I feel like it finally cooled down here now that it's January. But I feel like we had about like, I don't know, week, 2 weeks of like coldness, and now it's like it feels good out. I'm hoping it stays cold so I can like cuddle with my blanket just a little bit more and my fuzzy socks, because I love fuzzy socks. But in San Diego, it doesn't get cold very often, so I don't get to use them. 74 degrees in Florida. It is 37 degrees in Houston. Holy mackerel. See, I grew up in the snow. So, like, I grew up in Northern California where we would get snow every Christmas. Like, we would make bets on when the first snow was. We'd do dares out in the snow all that fun stuff. And then I'm here and it's like, it's not a white Christmas. It's weird, but it's fine. I don't have to shovel snow, so that's nice. I'm like, I can't tell if I'm jealous of the 32 degrees or or if I'm thankful that I'm not in snow right now. Yikes. Too cold. Not seeing the video. Hey, make sure that the little bar down below is all the way to the right. Although if she can't see me, then she can't hear me say that, huh? Are you, pale? Pale? Are you hearing me but not seeing me? Yes, I can go over the supplies. So for the paints, I have white, black, brown, blue, and pink. Specific blue that I'm using is Phthalo blue. I mean, technically I actually don't know how to say this. Phthalocyanine. It's a really long word, and I just say phthalo blue. Most people say phthalo. But it's just like it's a blue with a hint of green. I like it better than like ultramarine blue, but you can use ultramarine if you want. And then I'm using a stretched canvas that is an 11 by 14. It does not have to be this canvas. It can be a panel, it can be a canvas pad. I use that a lot at home when I'm not like teaching live classes. And a canvas pad is it's just thin. It's like just the paper and not on a frame. And then we are going to be using the Q-tips for the tree. And then if anyone wants to know exactly what brushes I use, these are them. This is the kit that I recommend in my supplies. And most of the all-inclusive kits have this type. They're at least very similar to the kit that I have. But it's got like 15 different brushes. I really like it. It's got an array brush, so pretty good quality. But yeah, that's what I'll be using. So if we can't stay the whole time, can we watch later? Yes, I don't take my classes down from YouTube, so you can totally come back whenever you need to leave. You can come back. Okay. And let's see. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much all the supplies. If you have tape, which I forgot to get out, but it's honestly it's not like necessary. If you have tape and you want to use it, you can use it for the horizon line. For everyone else, I'm just going to be teaching, just you draw a line and you work with it. But if you have tape and you want to use tape, you can use tape. If any of you saw my speed painting, which if you haven't seen my speed painting, it's on my it's on my YouTube. And if you want to get a gist for kind of what we're going to be doing, if you like that sort of thing, just open up another tab, watch the speed painting, and you'll get an idea of how we're going to do things. But you'll see in there that I taped off the horizon, and then I had a little circle, like I think it was a scratch off sticker that I was like left over from some project. But I used that for the moon, but we're just going to be putting in our own moon. For those who don't have those stickers. But if you do have a sticker, that's totally fine. Hello, Allie. Let's see. My 10-year-old is here for the first time joining for our live class. Yay, hello. I don't know her name, but hello. Is your Cash App $SA artist? Yes, it is. S and A for Samantha Anderson and then artist. Yes, it is. Yeah, if you would like to give a tip, all of my information is over on the left side, right side. It's like backwards for me. But yeah, on your right side, I have my Venmo and my Cash App. For anyone international that wants to give a tip, you can use my PayPal, which is samanthaandersonartist@gmail.com. But again, these classes are free, but any tip that you want to give, whether that's $1, $5, whatever, it does help. It helps fund these and make them free. But yeah, so if you would like to tip, that'd be amazing. Thank you. What kind of tape? Just regular painter's tape. I find that Scotch tape doesn't really stick to the textured canvas. If you're doing it on like watercolor paper or something like that might work. I've never actually done that before because I just have regular painter's tape. But you can use the blue. I have like a kind of yellowish white painter's tape that I use. So that's up to you what kind of what kind of tape. But I find that painter's tape works the best for sticking to the canvas. Can you rewatch the video? Yep. Have you discussed what colors we are using? Yes, I can just say them again. White, black, brown, pink, and blue. Specifically phthalo blue because it's a little bit darker. But you can use, if you don't have a dark blue and you want to use a lighter blue, you can just mix a little bit of like black or purple with it to darken it up. I would suggest purple rather than black because black and white will tend to like gray things out versus purple will still give it color. But yeah. What kind of brush will we be using first? We'll get into all of that, but we'll be using just a big, either if you have a flat brush, that'll be fine. But I'm using my big filbert, which I tend to like filbert brushes for anything that I'm not specifically needing a corner for. So like I would use this if I was specifically needing like to get in the corner of something. But for everything else, I find that filberts are really nice because they leave less like stroking lines when I'm trying to blend in things. But yeah. Hi from St. Catharines, Ontario. Catharines? I did the snowman. Yes, a lot of people did the snowman. Thank you for being here. I thought the snowman was so fun. Where am I putting the tape? If you look at the picture, you want the top of the tape to be just below the horizon. But again, I'll get into that once class starts. I'm gonna wait until 4 to start class because that's when class starts. But this is just the pre-chat, pre-welcome. Hello everyone if you're just joining us. We've just been chatting about weather and where everyone is and supplies and stuff like that. From Ontario. See, there's another Ontario. First time with my granddaughter, 10 years old. Yay! Awesome. Yes, this is the brush I'm using. It's a filbert, so it's flat like a normal flat brush would be, but it's oval on top. So that's what brush I'm going to use. If you're using the kit that I'm using, it's the biggest one. It's the number 15. But again, it does not have to be the same exact brush. Like it's just whatever big brush you have. You can put the tape on if you want to, but I'm going to be going over all that once we start class for those who aren't here right now. Let's see. I have 3 bundles of about 5 each. You'll probably only need 2, but I like to prep 1 extra just in case. Just in case my bundles get too saturated with a certain color and I need a clean one. But first time in this group. Oh, speaking of groups. So for all of my live classes, normally people would just post their artwork in the event, but I now have an artist community. So if you haven't joined my artist community on Facebook, you can either go to the event. I did post it in there a few times, but if you don't want to go find it, you can just go to facebook.com/groups/Samantha Anderson Artist. And that's where my community is. Everyone who paints with me, we'll be sharing all of our photos there, and kind of just keep it centralized and everything can stay in one place. But yeah, I'm really excited for it. That's just as of the new year. So definitely go over there. Maybe even while you're waiting, you can ask to join there. And then after class, we'll post all of our pictures and marvel at how many great artists there are. Just joining, thought this would be especially good for me since to paint tonight. Lost my brother to COVID Thursday night. Project looks wonderful. Diana, I can't imagine. I mean, I can't imagine. Some of the family stuff that we've been going through is my uncle died from COVID on Tuesday. So I can't say that I know exactly what you're going through, but understand that I'm there with you, and it's hard, and it sucks. But, New Jersey, can you say your PayPal? Yes, PayPal is my email, which is SamanthaAndersonArtist@gmail.com. So excited, first time in class. Can we talk to you or chat? No, unfortunately. People have asked if I can do like a large Zoom class, but because there's so many people, like I already have 360 people in here. That would be such a large Zoom, and it would kind of be crazy. So unfortunately, you can't talk to me, but you can feel free to at any time just post in here in the chat. And if you're asking a question and I don't get to you and it gets lost, feel free to ask again. Sometimes I'll just miss it, but I totally missed your answer. Can we watch together through Messenger? Are you talking to me or someone else? You can always like message people or video messenger your friends while this is going on, and then you can like be with them and me. Do we need to have tap? If you're asking if you need to tip, you don't need to tip. But if you would like to tip, you can. What size circle? Maybe like an inch and a half. If you don't have a sticker to put on, which I'm not using a sticker, I'll teach you guys if you don't have a sticker. But if you want a sticker and you don't have one, put like 2 pieces of tape together, like stick them together, and then like you can cut out a circle, and that can be like your circle sticker. Okay. Let me go grab my water real quick. Oh, it's right here. Sorry, tape. You don't need to have tape. I'm going to be doing all of my painting without the tape and without the sticker, so that anyone who doesn't have that knows what to do. But I will be saying if you do have tape and a sticker, where to put it and what to do and how to do that. We're going to start in a few minutes. It is 3:59. I'll go over all the supplies again for everyone who wasn't here earlier. Yes, thank you for your prayers. It's been really hard. And I'm sure it's been hard for everyone. Kids are going stir crazy inside of our apartment. I don't have pink. Will you share how to create the color? If you don't have pink, just mix some red and white together. If you want it a little bit more on the purpley side, you can add a tiny bit of purple or blue, depending on the colors that you have. But just red and white. It's going to be a little bit warmer of a color, but it'll definitely get the job done. It's 6:58 here. Yeah, you are. Wait, are you 3 hours ahead? 4 hours ahead? Wait, my math. It's 7 there, and it's 4 here. Okay, 3 hours ahead. EST. East Coast. Yep. I'm painting on a 6x8. How big do you think the moon should be? Honestly, it doesn't matter. So if you want your moon to be really big and vibrant, you can do that. We're going to be kind of drawing out everything. So if you draw your moon and it doesn't look right, you want to make it bigger or smaller, you can make that adjustment before we paint. If you are doing the tape method, draw out a bigger moon, put it on there. If it doesn't look right, cut some down, put it on there again, okay? It is, however, 4 o'clock. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Let me grab one more drink of water because I've been talking this whole time. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So for those of you who weren't here earlier, we're going to go over supplies real quick. And yeah, so for the paint, I am using titanium white, permanent black, phthalo blue. If you do not have a dark blue, just any dark blue, but if you don't have a dark blue, you can always make it darker with some purple or black if you don't have purple. I'm using raw umber, but any brown should be fine. And then I have Rogue, or Rouge, Rogue. It's just a dark pink. If you do not have pink, like I just said, you can make it with red and white. Try to have it a little bit darker because it's a lot easier to make things lighter on here. And if you are pre-mixing your pink color, you want to pre-mix it and not just add the color directly on here because then you'll have bits of red in there. Yeah. And then did I already say we have raw umber? Yeah, so I have raw umber, which is it's a dark brown. If you have a lighter brown, then that's fine. And then I have this kit. It's the kit of 15 brushes. It comes with a sponge. It comes with a palette knife. Really handy. So if all of the supplies that I use are in the description below. Yes, if you have magenta, that's perfect. Magenta is a little bit darker. This is magenta that I have, depending on, or sorry, a little bit lighter. If you do have a magenta and it seems a little bit lighter, you can always darken it with a little bit of purple or blue, whatever you have. And then I'm using a 11x14 stretched canvas. It does not have to be this size. It can be this size. It can be smaller. Keep in mind that if you are using a bigger canvas, what you do will take longer than it will for everyone else, unless you're like really fast. My tip for you, if you are using something bigger, use bigger brushes. Makes sense. So grab your big painter's brushes so that you can really, and that's mainly just for the background because we are using a wet on wet technique for both the sky and the ocean. So you'll want to have bigger brushes to make sure that you can achieve that that look. Okay. Drawing paper. Are you using acrylics on drawing paper? If you're using acrylics on drawing paper, the paper is probably going to get saturated, and because it's going to soak up all the water from our paintbrush and from inside the acrylics. So you can use, if you have a cardstock, I would recommend that more. Yeah, so that's what we're using. And then I have my handy dandy clear palette. I was thinking of painting the back so you guys can see it better, but I'll be adding all of my, again, all of my materials are in the link, or are in the description via links. So if you see anything that you want to buy, there's that. Does anybody have any questions before we get started? Because I think that's it in terms of supplies. If you are new here and you've never painted with me before, welcome. I love that I get to paint with you all. Make sure to, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. I teach bi-weekly, and my browns aren't very brown. I either got tans or weed grays. Honestly, we are going to be lightening it up, so that's probably fine. That's just kind of what I'm using. I have cardboard, but it has a number written on it. Can I paint over it? Yeah. Acrylics is pretty solid. Unless you have a really, bad brand that's fairly translucent, you'll be able to paint over it. Okay, yeah, so yes, you do need Q-tips. If you don't have Q-tips and you don't want to use Q-tips, you can use a brush. Like, that's totally fine. You can use a brush. But we are going to be using Q-tips for the blossoms of the tree. So I have about 3 bundles. We'll probably only be using 2, so 3 bundles of 5 each. Like I said, I'll probably only use 2 if max, but I like to have an extra one just in case I need it, and I won't have to like stop everything I'm doing to bundle another one. And I usually will bundle them so that it just keeps it together and it's easier to use, so I'm not trying to fiddle with it while I'm trying to paint. It's just already all together for me, okay? And then of course your water, paper towel. I think that's it. For anyone who wants to tip, they can. It's totally optional. It does help in terms of coronavirus. No, I'm just kidding. It does help in terms of keeping these things free and everything. So if you can give, great. If not, don't worry about it. It's totally optional. But yeah, I think that is it. We're going to go ahead and get started. So if you have tape, it wasn't on the supply list because I'm going to be teaching it without it for those who don't have tape. But if you do have tape and you want to use it, we're going to go ahead and do that now. So you're going to put your tape a little bit below half. So you want the top of the tape to be a little bit below half. I'm going to go ahead and get my paint on my palette. So the first 3 colors that we're going to be using is phthalo blue, black, and white. Will you leave this tutorial on YouTube? Yes, I do not take my live classes down, so it'll be here for whenever you need it. Alright, so I have my 3 colors on here, and I have my filbert brush. That's what I'm going to be doing the sky with. But first we're going to do the, we're kind of going to sketch it out, okay? So you're going to grab the smallest brush that you have. I just, in this case, it's a 2. You could use the 2 or the 4. Grab some water, white, and a little bit of blue. So what we're doing is we're making a very light colored blue so that we can draw it out and easily go over it. You want it pretty watery because then it'll dry fast, and because it's a little bit translucent, we'll be able to paint right over it. If you wanted to use a pencil for this, you can, but I find that the graphite pencil can change the color of your paint, which is, it's fine if you don't really care. But if you are going to use it, I would say just draw it really, really lightly on your canvas so that it doesn't affect your paint very much. So I have this really, really watery blue paint. You can even go lighter than this. I'm going to keep it this dark so that you guys can see what I'm doing. If it's any lighter, you might not see it on the camera. So you could even do it light. Just make it light enough so that you can see it, okay? So we're going to go ahead and draw this in. So just below half is the, sorry, I can't see what I'm doing. Okay, so just below half is the horizon line. So here's half, It's just below half. Oops. I have a lot of paint on my brush. And I'm going to make sure, sometimes getting a different point of view on it to make sure that it's straight. Okay, there's that. It doesn't have to be perfect because we are going to be painting over this. This is just the sketching phase, okay? So then right in the middle, right above this, you're going to do your moon, okay? So if you want to split this into, I don't know, split it into half, it'll be like in the middle of that. So sorry for my head. I have to kind of figure out where I want it. There you go. Rough, rough. So if you have a circle sticker or you made one out of tape, this is where you would just place this instead of draw it. So you'll place your tape, you'll place this, and then we're going to go ahead and put in our little, our 2 pieces of ground. This is kind of like the foreground. And then over here, going to about right under the moon, but not quite all the way under it. I'm just going to put a little dot because that's where I know I want the end of my little cliff here. Just going to draw a little line. And this is going to come in. There are going to be some roots that go over. So try to make this a little bit thinner than what you think. You can always make it bigger as we're going. So I come in kind of to a V and then go back out. From there, grab a little bit more paint. And we're just going to place our tree. Now, if you don't want to place your tree right now, you don't have to. We are going to be covering up this hole, but sometimes it's nice to like figure out where you want it. So I'm just going to, okay, that's where it's going. And if you look at this, I think I actually want to make that smaller. So that gives me a good idea to remember when I'm actually painting this in to go a little smaller. So it's good to do that, even though we're gonna paint over it. We're gonna paint over it, but just drawing it in there helps for when we're actually painting it. And for all my patrons watching, a few weeks ago we talked about creating depth in a painting. This is a really, really good example of that. So we have a few layers. We have at least like 3, but some could argue even 4. So we have the moon in the background and the sky. This whole ocean gives so much depth to the painting because this is all the way at the horizon line, all the way down to this page, and you can see so much of it. And then you have the tree and this cliff. And then because of the size of the tree, you could say that it's a pretty big tree. And these rocks and grass you have so much detail, which really bring it forward. You have that 1, 2, 3, 4 layers of depth. And that's just one of those things when you're creating a painting, it's really helpful to create those layers as you go. And honestly, this whole painting is a really, really simple process, and it's a simple concept. But by having those different layers, you can really make it stand out. Okay, so is everybody done with that section? Let me know. Give a thumbs up. Say I'm done. See we can move on. Yeah. Okay, cool. So for this next part, I'm going to teach it before I do it, because last time I was trying to teach as I was doing it and everybody was telling me to slow down. But part of this next technique is that it's a wet on wet technique, which means you need to go a little bit quicker in order to achieve the technique. So what we're going to be doing is, for those who have a sticker, you can just paint over the sticker. You don't have to like go around the sticker because you're just going to pull the sticker off. For those who are painting it, you can try to avoid it a little bit. If you need to go in this area, that's totally fine. We're going to be creating our own moon. So don't worry about if you like get into where the moon is. That's totally fine. But part of this is we're going to start in the center and work our lighter colors. And then we're going to slowly move out and add our darker colors. Part of this technique, the wet on wet technique, part of it is that everything is wet as we're going, so it can all blend together. So once we move out of this middle part and we start moving out, we're not going to come back in, because by the time we get back into the middle, it's going to be dry. Okay, so that's part of it. So we're going to move from the moon out, and then we can kind of do a swoop, either from the left to the right or the right to the left. Doesn't really matter. Does that make sense for everyone? So I'm going to be painting at my own pace of how fast I need to go in order to create the effect. Just know that just keep moving. You're going to add light to the middle and slowly darken it up as you go out, okay? And then if you have any questions, I'm going to paint the rest of my sky, and then I'll be answering any questions to help you as you're going along, okay? So don't be afraid. It's part of the technique. You have to move a little bit quicker. For oils, it's completely different. Those stay wet for weeks, and you can blend a week later. But for this, sorry, my doorbell just rang. But for something like this, acrylics dry pretty fast. So if we're doing a wet on wet technique and we want it all to blend, you kind of got to move at a quicker pace, okay? Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So if you are new, whenever we do a large portion of our canvas, we want to grab the biggest brush that we can. For me, that's going to be the 15 filbert. If you are on a bigger canvas, make sure that you get a bigger brush, because a 1-inch is not going to help you in your attempt to do a wet on wet technique, okay, to blend the background. So we're going to start with just our plain white, okay? I'll grab my plain white, and I'm going to put it all around the moon. You see how I kind of went over that part? That's okay. If you ever need a little bit of help blending, grab just a little bit of water, and that will help everything meld together. And for the moon, I'm going to be going in a circle. All right, so I'm just slowly adding a darker color. If I need it to blend, I'm just going to go over it a bunch of times, and that'll help it blend. So I'm going to grab more white. I'm going to start mixing my white and my blue together. You'll notice I'm just going over the tree. That's totally fine. And if you want to blend it back into the white, you can always dip your brush in a little bit of white and kind of reblend that. Give me 1 second. Somebody's at the door and talking to my child through their window, and I need to see what's going on. Give me 1 second, okay? Just keep doing that until you're all the way out. Once you get out of here, you don't necessarily have to go in a circle motion, but you will have to just make sure that it's wet on wet. And I will be right back to see who's at my door and talking to my child.
You're just watching us, we want to get, yeah, you're welcome. No worries. No worries, sorry about that. I hope you enjoy it. You're welcome.
Oh my goodness, sorry about that. So we live right next to a fire station, and my son's window is like directly across from the back alley, like next to them, and he was talking to them, and he was knocking on the door to give him a firefighter like hat thing and some stickers. And that's adorable. So he's supposed to be napping, and he's not napping. He's talking to the firefighters across the street. Just joining, how trying to figure out how to catch up. Okay, so what we did, we just did a general outline of it. Honestly, the only thing you really need is this horizon. Okay, and then you can start the moon. Okay. Or you can start going around the moon. And my paint has dried just a little bit, so I'm going to be playing a little bit of catch up myself. Because, you know, I don't have a studio. I live at home. And when strange people are talking to your son through their window, sometimes you gotta stop what you're doing and see who it is. I joined late, so I'm going back. Yeah, feel free to go back, and you can always go fast and then try to catch up too. I forget that YouTube does that. My son is still talking to him through the through his window. Now he's saying that he loves him. I don't know if you guys can hear that in the back. Alright, so at this point I have enough of this on the back that I can start adding these darker colors to here. So I'm just going to grab these darker colors, put them on here. And then if you do have a stretched canvas, don't forget to go on the tops, the sides, and the bottoms when you're painting the background, or when you're painting, so that you can just hang it right on your wall. You don't need any sort of frame or anything like that. What color is that? I mixed my phthalo blue and my black. Just a little bit of black. And I mixed my phthalo blue with it. Just to give a little bit of those darker tones. And now I'm just working on blending that in. I'm just grabbing a little bit of white. But I know that this is where the tree is, so I'm not being too picky on like blending and things, because the tree is going to be here and it's going to be covering most of this. Okay. Black, blue, brown, which dark color? So I have I added black. If you wanted to add brown, I think in the original I added purple. Now that I'm thinking about it. So if you have like a dark purple, you could do that instead. But we're going to be adding stars to this. Okay, what's the question mark? 4. I'm losing bristles, lol. Do I need better brushes or am I pressing too hard? Potentially both, but usually that has to do with brush quality. If you're losing bristles, it usually has to do with brush quality. Or if you're not taking very good of your brushes, good care of your brushes, sometimes they can come out. So just make sure that you always wash them with soap and water. You leave them on its side to dry, and you don't ever leave them in your water. So I'm just making my way around with these colors. I did have to backtrack just a little bit because I did have to leave my canvas a little bit. But as you can see, it's still possible to kind of fix mistakes if you want to call them that. I wouldn't call it a mistake. It just I had to do the process a little bit differently because I had to leave my station. All right. So as you'll notice, like I went down. You want to just make sure to go down below the horizon. So going down below the horizon, I'm going to make sure that this is all painted. Okay, where's my horizon? Okay, so this is where my horizon is. So I just want to make sure that I got all the little pieces in there. And I think that's fine. So for those who have tape on there, you'll pull that off before we do the ocean, okay? So once you're done with this, make sure you get all sides, because I am the worst. See, look at that. I'm the worst. I always forget this. I think it's because I can't see it, like on the opposite side of from where I paint. Just gonna okay. somebody commented something. Where are you this? Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. So after you're done with that, you're just going to rinse out your brush. And when you're done with this, please let me know, because that will kind of cue me to kind of move on. I'm just kind of fixing my circle because it's a little bit of a oval going on. So you can do it like kind of how I did it, or you can have like the splotchiness of like the different colors. It's up to you how you want your background. Make it yours. If you want more of a textured, like I did in the first one, or you want these colors, that's totally fine. Okay, we're done. Okay. So for those of us who don't have moons, we do have to wait for this to dry a little bit. So what we're going to do, or else it'll just blend with the blue that's already there. What we're going to do is we're going to do our, do I remove the stick or move? Not yet. We're going to do the stars first. So if you have an old toothbrush or just an old brush in general, I will be using my trusty, my trusty Princeton. I've had this brush forever. But it's fairly, I used it quite a lot, but it is a little bit more of on the frayed side, you could say. So that's what I'm going to be. I just spilled my tea on my painting. Artist's life. So if you have an old brush, or maybe one that maybe has hog hair that's just a little bit stiffer, that's why toothbrushes are really good, because it's stiffer, so it can, like, you know, flick the paint. We're going to go ahead and grab some water with this brush, mix it with a little bit of white, and we're going to make a kind of a creamy white. So then I have this. This is what this looks like. You see all the little pieces are, I dabbed it on my palette, which is just, I'm just dabbing it like this to get all of those separated. So now each one of those are going to give another star. And there's two ways to do this. You can do it the toothbrush way of like flicking it with your thumb. It's a little bit messier. Or you can tap your finger. Now you have to make sure that you're not too close to your canvas, or you're going to whack it. And we don't want that. So you're just going to hit your finger. If you find that it's not coming off, well, the bright blue around the moon. That's okay. Honestly, we're gonna put in a moon, and if it's a little bit lighter, that's fine. It doesn't need to be this light, as long as it's not as dark as everything else. So yeah, so if you find that it's not, your stars aren't coming off your brush, you might need a little bit more water. Just make sure that it's not too watery to begin with, because you could splat and then it could drip, and then that nobody wants that either. I will say that using a toothbrush is a lot cleaner, because when you use a brush, you do this, but then it has to like come back and then it gets everywhere. So there's that. But if you don't have a toothbrush, it is a very good tool to use. Okay. And I'm not going to worry about up in this corner, because that's where the tree is going to be, and I just don't need to spend my time doing that. My black background is still showing through the canvas. Did you start off with a black canvas? My black background is still showing the canvas through it. Oh, okay. What do I need to adjust? More paint, or add a little bit of water to help the consistency of the paint be more like fluid and to get in all those grooves. The more paint I use, it seems too watery. What kind of paint are you using? Are you using the tubes or are you using the craft bottles? A fan brush works awesome for splattering. Yes, if you have a fan brush, that also works. I usually just try to teach with something that somebody might have, like the general class. But yeah, if you have a fan brush, that also works. Craft bottles. Okay, yeah. So craft paint typically is a little bit more transparent. Is that what you're talking about? You can see the canvas, like it's not thick enough? Or are you talking about like you can see the texture of it through the paint? I added constellations to my stuff. I think I did too over here, but you know, that's fine. Some of my starry nights are better than others. I feel like a toothbrush is more consistent in how well it how good it looks, versus sometimes with my trusty paintbrush doesn't always give me the same look. Almost caught up. Okay. Amy Miller, are you the Amy Miller that I know in person? I have a friend who has the same name as you. Can't see your picture though, so it's hard to tell. Yes, and the texture of the canvas. Okay. Yes to and the texture of the canvas. Okay. Yeah, so if you can see like all the strokes and everything, and you can, if it's too transparent, sometimes that's just the craft paint. A lot of times does that. It's just, I don't know if it has more water, but just whatever they make it out of it, it tends to be more, like most colors I find tend to be less opaque. You can make things more opaque by adding either black or white. So maybe add a little bit more of a darker color since it is out here more. And for the texture of the canvas, if you can still see, like obviously I can still see texture, but you want to make sure that like the paint gets into all the grooves of the texture. So if you can still see like white like spots and stuff like that, thankfully it is a sky, so it doesn't matter that much. But I would add a little bit of water. That's weird because usually with craft paint I don't advise to add water to it because they're already a little bit transparent, and adding water makes it more translucent. So I'll just play around with it, play around with adding different colors to it. Some colors are more opaque than others. My star is big. My stars are big. That's okay. My first one, I had like a giant star. I don't know if you can see it. I had a giant star like right here. Okay. People are running into things. Yeah, so I had like a few giant stars here. That's fine. You could even like put in your stars manually if you wanted to. But okay, let me know if you're done with the background. or done with the stars, I mean, because we're going to go ahead and do our moon. So if you're at where I'm at, you've done the background, you've done the sky, you've done the stars. Great. Now we're going to move on to, let's see, yes, okay, we're going to move on to the moon. We're going to move on to the moon. If you have a filbert, a small little filbert, I personally would rather these, especially for doing something that's round like the moon. So I can really get into the curve of the moon and stretching it or making all the lines really clean. With a filbert, I find it harder to do that with a flat brush, like a square flat brush. So if you don't have a small filbert, then maybe get a round brush that you can use. But regardless, so what we're going to do for the moon is I'm not going to put too much water on it, but I am going to get a little bit of water just so that it moves nicely on the canvas. I'm going to place, so I want you to watch what I'm going to do first and then follow me, okay? So everybody watch real quick. Here's where my moon is. This is where I want it to go. I'm going to place my brush and take it into a circle. Okay, it's really small right now because I want always do smaller than you think you'll need, okay? Because you can always make this bigger. Now that I have like a general outline, I can really make this, I can press down further. If you need to practice this on your palette, you know, the turning of it, that's totally fine. You can practice on a piece of paper or practice on your palette. So I'm looking at that, I'm like, oh, I think I want it bigger. So now I can press a little bit harder and go in a circle. I think I like that. So that's how I would do it if I didn't have a circle. I used my filbert brush. If you don't have a filbert, you can use a flat brush for this. I just find them harder to work with because now this is pretty round. This is pretty round. You can see it's a little bit flat on top here, but I don't think anybody would even notice that unless I point it out. So now if I wanted to bring that out, I can use this round like tip to help shape it. And while it's still wet, I'm going to take a small brush, go into my phthalo blue, and put some detail on there. Yes, remove your circle if you have a sticker. So this is my moon. I just placed some dark on there. My white is still wet. I put some dark on there, rinsed out my brush, and I'm just gonna kind of, I don't know, move it around a little bit. You can always go back into your white and, you know, add white spots if you think you need it. I think I need some white up here. I kind of liked the look of like the moon being really texturized. So it's up to you how much blue you want to put in there. Or you can look up like what a moon actually looks like and kind of go based off of that, but So again, I just play around with it until I like what it looks like. It's pretty textured. Let's see. Move out here. It's pretty textured. So like I just kind of blocked some of this on there and then moved it around a little bit, but I didn't try to blend it too much. Because if you blend it too much, then you're going to lose a lot of that really pretty texture. So it's all up to you. And for me on camera, it doesn't look like there's much difference between the white and my moon. In person, there's more of a difference. I don't know if I can like shield some of the light, but so if you didn't make it as light as mine, you'll probably like it more because the moon will really look like it's shining in the darkness. Okay, we're gonna go ahead. Let me know when you're done with that. If you are done with all of that, so if you're done with the sky, the stars, and the moon, go ahead and take off your tape. And I already kind of pre-drew in where my horizon line is, just for me. So all right. Let me know when we're done with that, and we'll move on. While you're waiting, you can rinse out your brushes. Dry them off. Make sure they're not sitting in the water. And for anyone who doesn't know, I do have a Patreon, which that is essentially a place where you can get more classes from me. It's a monthly subscription where you pay and then you have access to everything I've ever created for that tier. It's a lot of fun. I have a close-knit community in there, so if you want access to more teaching and classes and tips and tricks and stuff like that, I do have a Patreon for that. Okay, I'm seeing some done. Done. Okay. I'm gonna wait for a few more because there is a few people here. There are a few people here, so I'm gonna wait for a few more to say done. Okay. All right. We're getting going. Okay. So now what we're gonna do is just using those same colors, we're going to create the ocean. So just like the sky, it's going to be a wet on wet technique. I find this one a lot easier because it's not in a circular motion. It's just all the way across. So I find it to be a lot easier. Grab some water. Mine disappeared. Should I let it dry and then go back to it? What disappeared? Then wait, disappeared. Should I let it dry and go back at it? I'm not sure what disappeared. Okay, let's go ahead and do the ocean. So I'm going to grab whatever big brush that you had. Oh, I missed how you got to the blue in the moon. So while this is still wet, while the white is still wet, I just put a few dabs of just pure like phthalo blue in it, or if you have ultramarine, whatever dark blue that you're using. And then I rinsed out my brush and then moved it around and mixed it with the wet white. And then if I needed to, I went back in with my white and put it back in there. Okay. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do the ocean. So we're going to start by putting white in the middle. We're going to grab some of our blue, mix that in a little bit, and then we're going to add some black on the edge. So go ahead and start with your white. And right under the moon, just going to add your white. And you can start adding your light blue. These are just the base colors. We'll be adding like the actual reflection of the water in a little bit. So grab a little bit of water, grab your paint. I'm adding my pure blue down at the bottom, and then as I come up and closer to the middle, I'm adding white. So now I can go in, once I have like the base colors there, I can go in with just my white and put some streaks. So I have my brush at like an angle, or I'm sorry, horizontal. Putting in all those streaks, going all the way down. You can add it in other places too, but it's going to be mainly in the middle. And then don't forget the bottom. And then just very, very lightly, so rinse out your brush, and then very, very lightly, you're going to go across this in all the same motion. Like that. And it will blend all of that in a little bit. You can always come back in and add, you know, some waves or anything like that if you wanted to. And when I'm blending that in, I'm barely touching the canvas. So I put my light, a little bit darker, and then I go back in with my white, going only at a horizontal. I'm only going horizontal with my brush strokes. I don't think I like this black here. I'm going to just keep adding that white. I want to highlight that even for someone, this is the third time I'm painting this, and every single one of my paintings has been different. And I want to emphasize that even though you're here painting the same thing, I'm teaching it, yours is going to look different than mine. Mine looks different than mine, and I'm the one that painted it, right? So don't be hard on yourself if it looks different. You're making different choices than I would make or somebody else would make, and that's okay. That's what makes you unique in your painting style and your upbringing. Everything that goes into your paintings, and honestly, just like our love for art. So if it doesn't look exactly like this, that's okay. Still share your work in my artist community. Like, we're here to have fun and relax and kind of escape all the stuff going on in the world right now. So just relax and trust the process, and it's okay if it looks different than mine, okay? It's one of the things that I actually love about these live classes is just being able to share everybody's work, and it all looks so different, and it's amazing. So you can ask my husband. It's like one of my favorite parts of these classes. Okay, so let me know. My husband is moderating, so when he says it's true, it's because he's saying it's true, not me. but I do say it's true. Wow, message retracted. Having an online conversation with my husband who's across the room. Okay, give a thumbs up. Let me know if you're done. We are about an hour in, so we're doing really good on timing. All my classes run about 2 hours, so we should definitely be done by the scheduled time. Okay, awesome. Sweet. All right, so next we're going to be adding our black. So this is probably like the easiest part of class, is we're just going to be filling in our cliff and our I don't know what to call this, our other foreground ground piece, our rocks. Okay, so we have a cliff and rocks. We're going to be filling in our rocks with just straight black. Okay, so all of this black, all of this black. Okay, I will say that it's easiest if you do add a little bit of water to your black, just to begin with, so that it does move on the canvas a little bit better. If you are using craft paint, I would not suggest this because this will make it more translucent, and you kind of want it to be the thickest that it can be, okay? So I'm just going to fill in this whole area. If you want, I can go through just outlining it real quick. So let's say you have a piece over here that you don't like, or you have a star out here that you don't like. Cover it up. So any part of this, you can just be like, oh, this was totally meant to be. The first thing you want to do is cover up all the white. So that's kind of your first step, is make your line to cover up all of the all of the white. And that'll give you like the base shape for your little mountain and like what it has to be. Then you can go in and kind of change the shape. So let's say like I don't like this little, actually I do like that. Let me pick something else. I'm gonna come up here and then I'm gonna come down here and kind of wiggle my brush a little bit. I can change the shape of whatever this is after I get that basic shape of getting all the white out. That's why you always kind of want to paint over those initial lines so that you have a little bit more space to be free in your design. Versus if I would have only painted right there, I might have had to make that bigger in order to cover up all of the white space. Okay. And then don't forget to do the bottom of your canvas. If you have a panel or a canvas pad, then you don't have to worry about this. What do you do if you have craft? If you have craft paint, just put it right on there. Don't worry about putting water on it. Sorry, I didn't see that until now. So then again over here, I'm going to cover up all of the white. I'm going to make this somewhat straight, but I can I can change the shape. Like maybe there's a rock over here, and I want it to go up. Excuse me. Need some water. So link spam. No, don't use the word spam, Mike. Too late. My husband is not posting spam. He's just spamming out all my links for everyone. Okay, so this will go, remember when we first put this in? This is going to go out all the way to about here. Okay, roughly. Maybe I'll make it go a little bit further. Hello. All right, so we went about there, and then remember I have to cover all of the white first. And then I can change the shape of it. How can I do so good? I've been painting for quite a while. So I grew up with my mom painting, but I wasn't really my thing. I was actually a theater major. So I wasn't like, I mean, I was an art minor. I've always done art. But I don't think I've taken any like actual painting classes, other than just like online stuff. But honestly, it's just practice, just doing it consistently. Once I started painting, I did a couple painting projects in college, not for a painting class, but for it was like a mixed, I think it was like 2D or 3D or something like that, because I was a ceramics minor. And so after I did that, I think I kind of like fell in love with painting again. And then after moving to San Diego, I didn't really want a traditional job. I wanted to do something artistic. So I just started painting and realized that I was, some would say, natural at it. So I just continued to do it. And yeah, now we're here. I get to share it with all of you. The tablet is in the room. No. If anybody wants to show their work after the group or after the class, I do have my my artist community, so you are free to join there. Okay, so here's the point where I've covered all of my white, and I think I want this to kind of come out more so that there's more room for all of my roots to hang. So I'm going to bring this in a little bit. And then I'm going to move out my my cliff just a little bit. Give it just a little bit more of a bottom. All right, there you go. Are you using a chemical that makes acrylic be like oil? Nope, I'm just adding a little bit of water. And it's honestly right now it's nothing like oil. It is drying very fast. Oil stays wet for quite some time. And these are drying fairly fast. Okay, so once you're done with that, let me know. Give it a thumbs up, all that stuff, all that jazz. And we are going to add some grass. So if you have the kit that I recommended before this class, you'll have a liner brush in there, and we're going to use our liner brush for the grass. If you do not have a liner brush, then you can just use a typical small round brush. It's not as easy using just the small round, but it's totally doable. I did it for years in most of my classes. In most of my classes in person, I just had 3 brushes. I had a large flat brush, a medium filbert, and then a small round brush. And I taught for years for that. But if you do have stuff at home, you might have a liner brush. If you do have a liner brush, use your liner brush. It's amazing. So that's what I will be using. But if you don't, just use your small brush. Make sure that you have a good consistency with your black. And so go ahead and grab some black. We're going to add some grass to our black. Okay. You're going to just add some grass. This is the detail that makes it look so much closer. And you can even add movement. So if all your grass is kind of swaying to one side, you can give the illusion that there is like a wind. And since I kind of, when I originally painted this, I kind of pictured like the wind blowing this way. You can also mimic that with the grass by just flicking out your brush to the right. Not all of it, not all of the, not all the grass is going to go that direction, but and you might have more grass in some places rather than others. Like maybe there's like a bush of some sort. Maybe you have a couple really long pieces up at the top. Maybe that's the closest. And don't forget to continue it around the corner. Can you use a toothbrush and flick it up? I don't know. I've never done it before. you could do it and let me know. I can't imagine it wouldn't work. I would say that it might. No habla español. I don't speak Spanish, no. Yeah, so I mean, you could try it. Another way to do grass if you don't have any small brushes, let's see. You can get your filbert and get a little bit of this, and you can just gently, you can put your brush. One thing I love about the filbert is that I can get the thinnest lines with this thing here. Let me show you something. If you don't have a small brush, or the small brush is not working for you, if your consistency is right, and it's a little bit of water, black, put my hand here so you can see it, I can get the thinnest lines. Look at this. You see that? Maybe you can't. Hopefully you can see it. See that line? Those lines? I did that with the filbert. I did that with this brush. Okay? You just turn it and you get little thin lines. Okay? So if I wanted to, if I didn't have a small brush or a liner brush, you can do the same thing. It's going to be harder to get like a curvy line, but it's totally doable. I'm just gonna, and then you could also get like a bunch of grass by just gently going up, like flat. So there's a couple options for you. Does anyone speak Spanish and can help me? I do not know Spanish. No habla español, so I don't know what she's asking or saying. Is that Spanish? I could Google it. But if anybody else knows Spanish and would like to answer her question, or maybe translate it for me, I would love to answer it. Okay, so then you're just going to continue on to the left side. And if you want the perspective to be the right side is really close, the left side is a little bit further back, do smaller grass. So if you want this to be the same, then you could make it the same. But I'm going to, she was pretty. Thank you. If you want it to be further back, then just do some smaller grass, okay? I'm just going to use my liner brush real quick to add some. Still trying to keep the thought that the wind might be blowing it to the side, which I didn't do to the grass in my original. I just kind of put grass there, but I like the thought of it like blowing over. Okay. Should the grass be longer at the top or the bottom? Are you talking about the top here on the right and the bottom down here? When I originally had this, I pictured it going, this is the closest part and it's kind of going away from me. But if you want this all to be the same, like it doesn't really matter. I missed something. What did you miss? Sorry, you guys are having to like translate for me. It's been on my bucket list to learn Spanish because when I was doing face painting before COVID hit, I would have a lot of Spanish speaking clients, and it was like on my bucket list, but then COVID hit and I'm not doing parties anymore. And don't forget to put a little bit of grass down here too, on the left bottom side. Okay, so is everybody kind of at the same place? So we're going to let this all dry before we go onto the rocks, so that the rocks will be the last thing that we do. So we're going to move on to the tree. So while we're waiting for everyone, go ahead and grab your brown if you haven't already put that on your palette. Grab a little bit of brown. And give me 1 second. My husband's on the phone, so I'm gonna go close the door. Okay. What medium you using? Oil paint? No, we are using acrylics. So we're using acrylics because it dries faster. So it's, for me, it's easier to use and to paint with when I'm teaching. Not ready. Okay, we can wait. I'm nervous to use acrylic. Why? Don't be. I think, honestly, I think it's the most like forgiving thing because it'll dry, and then if you don't like it, you can paint over it very quickly. So like right now, if I didn't like this, I'd be like, I can just paint over it, or I can paint over that one thing that I didn't like. You know, I don't have to scrap the whole thing. If I wanted to do that with oils, I feel like I would need to wait until the whole thing dried for like weeks. So there's that. But for acrylics, I find them pretty forgiving. So like if I didn't like my moon, I could just repaint it white and then like redo the blue and fix it that way. With that said, one thing I do like about oils, I feel like it's the same reason I don't like it, is that it takes so long to dry. But if you are wanting to do big canvases as like your hobby, I would definitely look into oils, because it's a lot easier on a large canvas to have all your paints not dry on you before you want, like when you're, you know, drying them, or when it's drying. So like for me, if I were to paint a big, I painted, what was it? It was a Christmas, you know, the typical like 3 wise men with like the star, and then like I did like a verse. It was for a gift for somebody, and it was I think it was the largest canvas that I've ever painted on. It was like this big, which doesn't tell you anything, but it was giant. It was bigger than a 16 by 20 by far. I feel like it was like 2 of those. And my arm dipped in the wet black paint, put it in my ocean. Is there any way to redo the blue without the black smear? If it's still wet, you can get some water and reactivate the black and wipe it off. If you do that really fast, like right now. Get a little bit of water and a clean brush, reactivate the black because it should still be wet, wipe it off. That'll get most of it off. And then if it's not like fixed, then I would take some white, and you can just like put in more waves, if that makes sense. Tracy, yes, I don't take my live classes down. So if you want to watch this at a later date, you are totally free to do that, okay? Let me just see where we're at with everything. What brush for the grass? If you have a very small round brush, you can use that. I used a liner brush. I find it the quickest and the easiest. Thank you for subscribing. And then if you don't have a liner brush, you can also use, as I said before, even a filbert can get these really thin lines. So it's all about what you're comfortable with, whatever you're comfortable with, okay? I used a liner brush. Bye. What color for the black? I used black. Yes, I used black. So just the same color. We're going to be using a different color to kind of do some highlights, but that'll be at the end after we do our rocks, just to give it a little bit of kind of like the moon is on that grass. I used black for the grass. Hello, first time watching. Greetings from NC. Hello. If you have a fan brush, you can use that. Yes, also, if you have a fan brush, thank you. I always forget about the fan brush. I grew up not having a fan brush, so I forget how often you can use the fan brush. Yes, if you don't have a liner brush and you don't have a small brush, or you just want to use a fan brush and you have one, you can also do that. The specific fan brush that I have in this kit, it doesn't fan out very well, so I tend to not use it for things like this. But you can use it depending on what you're comfortable with. You do not have to do the grass. By all means, any step in here is optional. Like, make it your own. If you want to make something a different color, if you want to have the grass or not have the grass, or if you wanted your moon to be yellow or blood orange, like, it is totally up to you what you want to do with this. So at no point do you have to do exactly what I'm doing. I'm here to teach you and inspire creativity. So if I inspire you to do something different, then that's totally welcome, okay? My moon is not good with the blue around it, not blending like yours. Thank you for all the compliments. I really appreciate it. First time here, hello. First time watching you. I make it look so easy. Honestly, it's a lot of practice and just letting go. Sometimes, like, there are parts in my sky that I don't like, but it's just the sky. The sky is not the focal point of this. We haven't even gotten to the focal point. We've done literally everything but the tree, and that is the focal point. Like, the moon is a focal point, but, like, if you want to make it a different color or whatever, like, go for it. So if you're done, if you're ready to move on, please let me know, or else I'll just keep talking your ear off and we're not going to finish the class. But I would like to move on to the tree, so let me know if you're ready to move on. We have about 30-35 minutes left, but the tree does go fairly fast. So, okay, I'm getting a lot of done. Ready. Okay, perfect. Okay, so go ahead and get your brown. I'm going to be using my filbert, my small filbert brush. If you want to use a round brush, you can also do that, but I find it easier with the bigger brushes because they can hold more paint. So I'm just going to grab my brown with a little bit of water. If you have craft paint, you might not need to do this. This is just to make it a little bit more fluid. And we are going to be adding black and like highlights and lowlights to it. So don't worry if it's not completely solid. So if you remember in the beginning of the class, I drew my tree and I thought it was too big. So that we don't do that, okay, figure out where you want your tree. I'm going to want it fairly close to the edge, okay? So I'm just gonna do a whoop. That looks silly, doesn't it? That's okay. So that's where I want kind of, so now I can be like, if that's the middle of the tree, Is that where I want it? Or do I want it over? Now, because I didn't go like left side and right side, I can move it. So maybe this is the left side and I can bring it over a little bit. Do I like that being the middle? Yeah, I like that being the middle. So now I'm just going to make it more concrete, go out a little bit. I'm going to make it a little bit thicker. And I'm just going to give some branches. Which honestly, it does not even matter, because this is all going to be covered up. I'm glad that you're feeling confident you can do this. Honestly, just trust the process. Okay, so yeah, so the painting I'm doing now, like I said earlier, this is the third time I've done this painting, and it looks different every single time. So I think in the original one, I didn't add black, I added purple, and then I also had a different blue that I was using. This one, I kind of simplified it because I was teaching it for other people, and I don't want you to have to scramble to have all these different colors, so I kind of simplify it a little bit. So we just used black, white, and blue for the background instead of having the other two colors. So there's that. In the future, I will probably just use whatever colors I use so that it can be exactly what, you know, I painted it as. I think for me, the problem was I did it so long ago, and I wasn't planning on reteaching it for a live class that I didn't write down exactly what I used, which usually I will write down what I use so that I can reteach it the same way. But for this one, I actually did for a kids class in person a while back, and I had posted it online. I had posted it for all my Facebook followers, and they were like, "Oh, are you going to teach this?" And I was like, I wasn't planning on it, but I can." So that's where this class kind of spawned from. So sorry if the classes aren't, or I'm sorry if for this one the colors aren't exactly the way that it was in the picture. But again, you're free to use different colors for the background and everything that we're doing, okay? Okay, so we have this. We have our little tree. What I'm going to do now, actually, I think I want to change it. Oops. You know, dropping things, that's fine. I'm going to change the shape of my tree just a little bit before I move on. I kind of want to make it go down here a little bit more so that it's not so straight. I made it a little bit wider at the base. I think I like that better. It's kind of how I did it in the original. I think I liked that better. Mine was just too straight. Now that we have the base that, you're going to take your small round brush, grab some brown, same color. You're going to make some roots, okay? So just follow along the edge here, and this one is going to wrap around, kiss the underside, and then dangle. If you don't have a good amount of water, or like your consistency isn't like, I like to say, what's the makeup you put on your face? Not concealer. I mean, I guess concealer would work too. But just like the liquid foundation, have it be liquid foundation. Because most of you are women. You should probably know that, right? Probably. Do you guys wear makeup now that we're all in quarantine? Is that a thing? I didn't wear makeup very often anyways, but I like pretty much only wear makeup when I'm gonna be live or anything like that. Okay, anyways, let me zoom in here real fast. We're gonna zoom into these, we're gonna zoom into the roots here. So you're gonna go over the edge, come back, kiss the underside, and then you're just going to, you're gonna dangle, okay? Some are gonna come out through here and just dangle. So I'm going to come and do a little bit more kissing. So this is the part where you really get to just choose whatever you want. Make it your own. I'm going to switch to my liner brush because I find it easier to get those really thin lines. A way that you can, I do this with all my round brushes, and it's muscle memory, so I'm sorry if I don't teach it as much as I should. So whenever you're using, ooh, whoa, this is really zoomed in. Okay. Whenever you're using a round brush, whenever you're pulling it off of the palette, twist it. So flat brushes, you can go back and forth and just kind of scrape it off and it make it flat. With round brushes, in order to collect all of the bristles together, you want to roll it. So you'll notice with all of this, I'm rolling it. Not only does that kind of bring together all the strays that you may have, it also gets rid of excess paint that you may not need anyways. So you can just do that. You do have to make sure that if you are just mainly using the tip of your brush, you have to go in and get more paint quite often. So choose a couple big roots, and then you're just going to do a bunch of tiny little roots off of that, okay? So off of those roots, maybe there's a couple tiny ones poking through. They're crossing. They're not all straight. Some of them are wiggly. Some of them are going out to the side. Give a variety in it. Maybe some are splitting at the end. And just have fun with it. You're done. Okay, thanks for letting me know. Almost. Okay. No worries. I'm just finishing up myself. So that's what mine looks like. So I have like the major ones. Maybe this one's coming down here. You can't really see it, but we are going to be adding some highlights. But anything over here is not really going to get any highlights because it's going to be, you know, the moon can't see it. Okay, done. Okay, sweet. Okay. Awesome. Okay, while we're waiting for that, I did want to do the patron giveaway. So as you're all finishing up that, we're going to do a Patreon giveaway. So actually, I might do this. Actually, stay tuned. I'm going to do that when we're doing the blossoms. So for those of you who are interested, once a month on my live classes, I'll do a Patreon giveaway where I give away one of 3 items. It's either a paint kit that I use, which are the paintbrushes I use, a paint pad, or some other things. And just to say thank you for being a patron. But we will do that. We'll do that in a little bit. Because I think most of you are done and we can move on. Okay. Yes, I'm seeing a lot done. Okay, so we'll wait. Okay, so for this next step, you're just going to take your small brush Hello, just joined. Will I have to wait until this is done, or can I do it from the beginning? I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that you can you scroll it back, or can you just pause it? I don't remember. I haven't done a live class with someone in a while, so I don't remember. If you want to, what's my connection? Hello, can anyone hear me? Can you all hear me? Is it back? I had a moment. I had the spinning dial of death. Can you hear me? Okay. Okay, that's good. Ugh. Oh, goodness. I cut out for a second. Yeah, I don't know if that was my internet or what, because my phone was also doing it, and my stream was doing it. So, okay. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. But if it does, I can just restart something and I'll pop back on the same stream. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. What we're going to do, we're going to do some highlights and lowlights. This is really going to give the tree definition that we see in the original painting. So first we're going to start with the lowlights. We're going to start with just plain black. You don't have white. You don't have white. Do you have yellow? Or a very, very light blue? You don't have white. White and black, I would say white mostly, because you can make black with a very dark red and a very dark blue. But if you don't have white, I would say that's definitely a thing to get. It's pretty crucial in painting. Thank you. Can I go back? Go back to what? I have the roots, and we're just going to add some definition. So you're going to get black. Let me know what you need help with, and I can always help you while I teach the next section. So what you're going to do is you're going to add dark wherever there would be a shadow. So I kind of picture if the light is coming from the right side, then anything that's really on the dark or on the left side is going to be a little bit darker. So let me zoom in again so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm adding black, mixing it with a little bit of brown if I need to lighten, if I like added too much black or whatever. And I'm just going to add some texture to the tree. I'm not going to worry about too much once I get to the top of it, because I'm not going to see that. So I don't need to really pay attention to it. The real kicker is when you start adding a little bit of white to it. So I have my little bit of brown and a tad bit of white. Sorry, let me get in the... I have this. It's just brown and white. Might be too white. We'll find out. And you're just going to everywhere where the moonlight would be touching. So like the very right side. And this is where you can give definition of like what is actually being hit by the light. So you can do it on some of the roots if you wanted to. Do a couple lines. And all of a sudden, there's texture. Sorry, I'm bringing it forward because there's a little bit of a glare. But you can already see some of that. Someone is asking, can I do blue blossoms? I would say you can do whatever you want. If you want to do blue blossoms, I would say I wouldn't do them. And the reason for that is because the whole canvas is already blue. Now, if you were trying to do a style where like the whole canvas is kind of all the same color, go for it. But one of the cool things about this painting is because the sky and everything else is really blue, with the exception of like the rocks, the pink really stands out. So if you wanted to do like yellow, orange, red, pink, maybe a light purple, or even a green, like a light green, I would say that those colors would all stand out. But when you do a blue, it's not going to stand out as much. You definitely still could. I would try to stay on the lighter side of blue because this whole section, here, let me zoom out. This whole section is dark. So if you wanted to, you could do, you know, blues and darks and then really go light, where we're going to be putting the light pink. You could do that. Can I be involved in the giveaway? So giveaways are for my patrons, my current patrons. And it's like current patrons at the beginning of class. So I don't know, if you wanted to join, you could, but it's kind of for, I don't want everybody to join and then expecting that, hoping to get something. So if you wanted to join, you can. I've actually already done the randomizer for the name, so I actually already have the name. So for this month, it's already chosen, or at least I don't know the name, but it's already like in my program. I haven't looked at it, so it's already chosen, if that makes sense. But for next month, we will be having, I do them every month, so you can be a patron for as low as $5, but if you want to do the extra classes, it's $7 a month. But so you get 2 extra classes, and then I also have an option on there for doing a live Zoom class, which currently I only have 2 patrons at that level, so it's kind of like a very small group private, which is a lot of fun. So if you want to join, there's that. Okay, so where is everybody at with their trees? Are you good with your trees? The other highlight that we're going to use is a blue highlight. So you get your white and your blue and the tiniest bit of brown. I'll say that again. White, a little bit of blue, the tiniest bit of brown, just to tone it down a little bit so that it's not obnoxiously blue. It's kind of like a grayish blue and a little bit more white. And then you're going to add it to the opposite side. So in most cases, when you have a direct light, you will have an indirect light coming from the back. So this is what this is. You just give a backlight to it. Now you don't have to do this, but it does add a little bit of detail. And it's kind of fun. Okay, that's pretty much it. We'll be done by 6. The tree goes very fast, I promise you. So let's go ahead and do that. Get your these things out, your Q-tips, get your pink, and let's go ahead and start with that. So we're going to start with our just plain pink. You're just going to dab it on your pink, whatever pink you have. And you're just going to start dabbing it on there. I'm leaving a little bit of space between all of these so that I can let it dry and then fill it in as I go. Maybe I want this side over here to be a little bit darker, so I'm going to add a little bit of blue. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing. Okay. So add maybe a little bit of purplish color to this side, because this is going to be the furthest side from the moon. So then I can go back in the pink. I can start adding my white. Just a little bit when I start getting over here, not a lot, because we are going to be adding our white after. Don't forget to get the top of your canvas if you have a top. And you're just going to do this process for the whole thing. Try to start with just your one color, and after these layers kind of dry a little bit, you can start adding your lighter layers and all of that. Adding a little bit more of this lighter color. Figure out how far you want your tree to go over. See, I kind of want it to be even, so I feel like it should go out to about here. And you're just going to continue that. Kind of filling in all the gaps at this point. And then here's where you can kind of like bring it down a little bit into like a little bit more of like branches. So the idea is that everywhere where the moon comes in, it's going to lighten up the tree kind of from underneath. So once we get this base coat of pink to kind of balance out the blue here, we got to kind of cover all that dark color. Then I'm going to actually use another one so that I'm not contaminating the lighter colors. See how fast that happened? It was like 3 minutes. Okay. We're gonna lighten up some pink. I'm doing this with a brush, but you can just do it with your Q-tips if you want to. Okay. Then I'm going to turn this over and use a clean part of it. And you can start using your lighter color to add some highlight. Start with the bottom of it first, okay? some branches over here. Most of that light color is going to be coming through over here. Because as you move towards the left, it's going to be more shadowed by the tree itself. But anything that's going to come down is going to be light. And this is the part where you can kind of make some of your petals float away and add some of that. You can also add some over here on the ground. And that's pretty much the tree. That's it. If you want to work on it more, you can always wait for this to dry a little bit, add a little bit more white to your mixture, and add even more of a highlight. Like that. But yeah, that's the tree. It goes super fast. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the rocks. If you're not done with the tree, don't worry about it. You can stop right now, do the rocks with me, and then you can go back to the tree. The tree you can work on for as long as you want. It doesn't really matter because you're constantly adding layers, and that's okay if they dry because then you'll just add more layers. So stop the tree right now. We're going to move on to here so we can be done by 6, and then after class you can always go back to the tree if you want to, okay? So you're going to go ahead and grab some of that brown that we were using before. Grab this brown. I'm going to add just a little bit of white. Oh, I'm out of white. Hard to grab white when there's no white in your palette. Just a little bit of white because we're almost done. So I'm going to grab some white in here just to lighten it up so it's not like super dark. So here's my palette. Oh, here's my palette. So it's not like white, like that color white, but it is a little bit lighter. And I'm only using white in my dark brown because it's really dark. Like on camera, it almost looks black. Like if it wasn't like out here, it almost looks black. So that's why I added a little bit of white to that. Then you're just going to pick where you want your rocks. So let's say I'm going to have rock here. And I'm just going to, let's see, move in, go this way, let's go down. For anyone who has been with me since the beginning, you'll know how amazing this camera is. I used to have to like hold the camera and like try to paint while I did it. It was bad. So here's my rock. I'm gonna put another one. I'm gonna put another one right here. Oh heck, I'm gonna put one right here too. I'm just kind of putting in some brown. Maybe this whole thing is a rock. Maybe there's one right here. Just generally, I'm just kind of putting them there. Okay. Looks like we had a spammer. Okay. Thank you. I'm choosing not to add the rocks. Like that? Yeah, that's totally fine. You're welcome. Yeah, if you don't want to add the rocks, that's totally fine. But because it is in the class, yeah. So thank you so much for everyone who stayed. Oh, for the I forgot to do the patron. let me go ahead and just look at this. And oops, so this is already chosen, but I don't know it. And it is Jean Page. Okay, so patron, Jean Page, if you're watching this now, you have won the raffle for this month. So I will contact you on Patreon. You can either have the brush kit that I use, a canvas pad, or a little art set of paint. So yeah, congratulations. For anyone wanting to join Patreon, there's a bunch of links in here. You can figure it out. But yeah, if you need to leave right now, that's totally fine. You can always come back to it. This class will stay online for anyone who needs to leave right now. And yeah, have a great night. I'm staying here. I still have to finish these. But for anyone who is leaving, have a great night. So for the rocks, I just have a little bit of that lighter brown. Now we're going to go back in with an even lighter brown. So just add a little bit more white to it. And if you wanted to add a little bit of yellow to it, you can. I think in the original one I might have, but again, I originally wasn't painting this for everyone. I was just painting it for the class and I didn't write things down. So we're just going to add highlights wherever we think the moon is like really touching. So if you look at what I'm doing, I'm not like full on painting it. I'm just gently brushing and like brushing it down so that there's a little bit of a highlight, but you can still see the rock. It's just a little bit of detail. And if you wanted to give a hard edge, it would shape the rock and give the rock a little bit more of like a hard edge shape. So like if I did that, see how it changes the shape of the rock? Here, I'll do it over here again. I'm going to make it have like a flat edge. And then like really big highlight right there. All of a sudden, there's like rocks. So yes, if you're all done, we are going to do some highlights on the grass, but if you don't want to do that, then you're done. Don't forget to sign it. So for all of us, we're going to go ahead and add using that same highlight color, that brown highlight color, we're going to add some highlights to our grass, just a couple here and there. And you can do it over here if you want to as well. You can do it on the left as well. Where can you show me? So in the description at some point, if you can go to www.facebook.com and then /groups/Samantha Anderson Artist. So it's a Facebook group. If you also want to go to my page, it's linked on there too. And that's where everybody will be sharing their work. And yeah, so go ahead and sign it. Don't forget to sign it. And I'm just going to add one last touch for everyone heading out. One last touch is adding, and this is actually what gives it depth. I'm going to add grass, black grass, in front of the rocks. So this will really just place the rocks. They're not just like floating rocks. But we're going to put some grass over it. And that is pretty much it. So I'm sorry for going over a little bit. I hope you all have a wonderful night and that you had fun with me. Don't forget to like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Ring the bell notification if you want to have notifications of when I post new videos, all that stuff. Find me on Facebook. That's the first place where I launch new events. I have 2 more events coming up that are on my YouTube right now. If you go to my main page, you can, if you go to my main page, you'll see 2 other events. I have a palette knife painting coming up, and then our Valentine's bear. So yeah, go ahead and sign it. That's the end of class. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it, and I'm excited to see all your paintings. It's like literally, it's my favorite part of class. So I'm really excited to see everyone's. And yeah, I'm just going to sign it over here, SLA. And that's it. All right, that was a lot of fun. All right, bye everyone. Thanks for joining. See you in a couple weeks.